Hello and welcome to the New Normal with Steve Benaquist. I'm New Normal and this is the Steve Benaquist. Hello, welcome to the New Normal Lounge, and we're back, we're chilling. We are dressed for succession. That is the title of today's episode, number 111. And you'll find out about succession and why I'm always dressed for succession, even right at this moment. And speaking of how I'm dressed, here's a little update. My Kiss Me I'm Virish shirt that I designed, a gag I came up with a year ago, the first St. Patty's Day of pandemic, which I also made a video for. But this year I made it come true. You can have one too. There's a link below this video on YouTube. You can also get New Normal shirts, or you can just donate to the show. So that's coming up. Dress for Succession. Also coming up is what the hell did we used to call it? A linguistic examination. Today we're going to talk about incels with a little additional interlaced movie review of a 97-year-old film. And we will talk about my new normal, which let's just get right into that up top because it pertains, ladies and gentlemen, to my relaxation for the past week and my frustration right now because what I decided last week, this show comes out on Fridays at the moment, and I shoot it Thursday nights. I decided about a week ago Wednesday that I was going to take some days off of social media. I would not be peppering Twitter with jokes. I would not be peppering Instagram with jokes or photos or sharing things. I thought, I can take a little break. I'm going to try this from Facebook. No need to follow up with comments and things. I thought, okay, I'm going to post the video Friday. If there are comments, as there usually are, I will get an email about them. I can log into YouTube and respond. And surprisingly, there weren't that many, or any really. And just tonight when I was setting things up for this taping, I looked and dumbass here forgot to press save on the premiere button. The way it works is you can schedule it to appear at a time, and I had it all set to go, all edited, everything was good. And only like 4 people saw it because it was unlisted, like people I personally sent it to. Anyway, so you get a twofer. This week you get episodes 110 and 111. I recommend last week. It's pretty freaking solid. There's letters from various people, one of them real. Funny responses. Lyle Gerber gets into it with Waba pretty deep. There's even a music underneath it. It's a good one. So take the 14 minutes, 13 minutes, whatever it is. So it was relaxing. That's my check-in. I'm sharing it with you. I think it's a good idea. I think it was nice to, every time I was going to compulsively do it, I would instead read the news or do something else. I even put my phone down once or twice. Pretty satisfying. I also was riding my bicycle, but I'm not going to talk about that this week. We'll save that for next week. All right, moving on. We have what the hell did they used to call it? That's my new segment. Maybe I'll even make a graphic, maybe not. I'm feeling lazy. There's new terms come up all the time. Sometimes it's just a slangy thing for something there were already plenty of words for. But sometimes you start using it and it becomes part of your vocabulary and you wonder, I know that I knew what this was before, but what did we used to call it? And today's word, or a term at least, I don't know if it's a word, it's incel. For those who don't know incel, it's a neologism, a squeezing together of the first parts of 2 words, so it doesn't really work except in a George Orwellian way. Incel. It's short for involuntarily celibate people. 99.9% are men, I'm sure. It's basically shorthand for the toxic masculinity. Men who hate women, they're misogynists, and it's because the old way you needed more words, but you'd say you can't get laid. Maybe there was another term. I don't know. I'm such a language lover that I don't... In and cell have too many other roots they could belong to, so it doesn't really work. Anyway, it's a useful term. I'm starting to work it into my vocabulary. I thought of it recently, and I thought really about how far it goes back and how it can't be a new concept, because I watched the Harold Lloyd film Girl Shy the other night. I love movies from all eras. This one is not only black and white, not only doesn't contain any superheroes, let alone belong to the MCU, but it's silent. Yes, there are images, and that's it. Although there's a good score to it, and there's some like sound effects. If you don't know Harold Lloyd, he was a contemporary of Charlie Chaplin and the other silent comedians, Laurel and Hardy, and anyway, he was also a giant. He's great. He was hanging off the clock face on Broadway here in Los Angeles. But he plays a shy young man who writes a book. You see how girl shy he is. He has an extreme stutter around women. He works in a tailor shop, and women come in for dresses, and they tease him and draw him into conversation just to see him struggle to interact with them. But they think he's cute too. Then at night he goes up to his quarters, and he is working on a book. And what is that book? It's basically a pickup artist thing. It's each chapter bragging about these imaginary conquests, and it's, he's definitely an incel, and or can't get laid. I know it's so awkward. So many more words, so much less clinical, so much less Orwellian. But good movie, great sight gags, funny. He's a good actor. You can expand your knowledge of film and comedy and all that. Some really cool camera work in it too, actually, now that I think about it, and editing. Check it out. And if any of you do know what the hell we used to call an incel, let me know. Put it in the comments on YouTube or wherever, here on Instagram, wherever you're watching it. And now we come to dress for succession. And how you dress depends on where you lie in the line of succession for the office of the presidency of the United States of America. And for those that don't know, we're not talking about secession. That would be what the southern states are trying to do during the Civil War, seceding from the Union, and which two states, Texas and, surprisingly, Vermont, have it written into their state constitutions that they have the right to do. No, we are talking about succession. Who succeeds into the office of the president should something happen to the president? Now, the Founding Fathers had some foresight, and they looked at least as far as the vice president taking over that office. But in 1947, the law was passed. This is, if you look at your calendars, that was just 2 years after the death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was elected 4 times, was in somewhat bad health the entire time he was in office, which was a little over 12 years. And of course, the atomic bomb now existed. It didn't before he was president. It did afterwards. The idea that on those few occasions when you have everyone who is in the line of succession gathered in one place, that you could maybe kill them all in one stroke, you might want to think, who else? Who officially is lined up so that we don't just have some random military coup? Or other kind of coup. What got me thinking about this was seeing President Biden stumbling not once, not twice, but thrice on the ramp up to Air Force One. It had me as worried as it had Fox all in a tizzy. For you see, and by the way, let me talk about thrice for a second. If you have the opportunity to say thrice, don't say 3 times. You don't say 2 times when you could say twice. Economy of words. Plus, thrice is a great word. So bring it out there, man. Thrice, if you want to throw a little Scottish on it. In the same way that I'm a proponent of the $2 bill, and not just, it's carry fewer bills around. There's inflation. A buck ain't worth what it used to be. Say thrice, and I won't tell you a third time. Anyway, it had me worried, and I thought, okay, well, who comes after him? Well, we all know. Before we get into that, let's talk for a second about what it would have been with Trump, because, my goodness, what would have happened if this country had been deprived of his leadership? It boggles the mind. A President Mike Pence, because that's who it would have been, But yeah, I guess I can imagine it. After him, after the vice president, you go to the Speaker of the House, which in the first 2 years of the Trump presidency would have been Paul Ryan. And in order to imagine his leadership, you have to know only that he already got his tax bill, which is the only thing that made him tick. So he probably would have stood very still, except for the curling of weights with his arms. Second half, after the Democrats took back the House in 2018, would have been Nancy Pelosi. I think she's quite competent, forceful, knows how to deal with people, a deal maker. And after that would have been Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. And really, he's Trump light, if the word light can ever be applied to a man of the stature of Mike Pompeo. Anyway, Mike Pompeo probably will run in 2024. And really, most of this was just to bring up his name so that I could say what goes through my mind and what I would suggest might be his campaign song if he can find allies in the band Earth, Wind, and Fire. Gentlemen? I'm sorry. I like Earth, Wind, and Fire. And after that, it would have been the Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, who is a total douchebag. He nixed the Harriet Tubman $20 bill. He tried to cancel payments from the relief program so that Joe Biden would have more trouble getting relief to Americans in need. And I cross his name out on bills. Or I would. This is satire and spoof, and it's illegal to deface U.S. currency. And his wife is a jerk who posts Instagram photos of them on trips and hashtags all the things she's wearing, Gucci, etc. So that's disgusting. Anyway, moving on to what it would be like in this White House should Jay Biden, and here he is, should anything befall him, and God forbid, G forbid. Well, then we'd have Kay Harris. And although I didn't vote for her in the primary, she's quite capable, could totally run things. I don't doubt it. After her would come the Speaker of the House, we've already mentioned, N. Pelosi. And, yeah, I mean, she may not be as progressive as some Democratic voters would like myself, but I think she's great at dealing with people. After that would come a newcomer to the cabinet, and someone you may not be that familiar with, Antony Blinken. Yes, A. Blinken. And I think he'd be great. In fact, I'm staying in him. I'm a big fan. By the way, another linguistic point. Stan is totally pathetic. It's a reference to one video by an artist who's going to be forgotten, and all you Gen Zers and millennials are going to seem like grandpas when your own kids hear the word Stan. I'm like, can you explain that again? The word fan is already short for fanatic, but I digress. Here's me standing on him because I think he's so great that I took the liberty of making this graphic of President A. Blinken. And after that would come Janet Yellen. Yes, thank you. No wobble mentions. All right. And those are two of the strongest cabinet appointments that Biden has made. In fact, when he appointed them, he said, "Here before you I stand, Blinken and Yellen." Blinken and Yellen, Jack! I'm working on it. Till next time, I'm Steve Benaquist, reminding you that if it ain't new, it ain't normal.